As soon as you've integrated your ZeroKey account with your Xplan account, you can start to use your ZeroKey web extension to move client data into third-party technology. To do this, you'll first need to open your web extension and then select Xplan as your chosen source of data. Now, once you have chosen Xplan as your chosen source of data, you can then start searching for the clients that you have stored within your Xplan account. In this case, we're going to search for example client. Now, as soon as you select your chosen client, ZeroKey will immediately use the integration to pull all of the data you have stored within your Xplan account for your chosen client and present it for you to view. This includes everything from basic client details through to any savings and investments they may have. Basically, it provides you with super easy access to your client's data. It's important to note that ZeroKey does not store any client data. Instead, we simply act as a conduit by pulling client data from a source and pushing it into a new destination. And to do this, you'll need to visit the Actions tab. Now, an action is specifically designed to reduce the effort involved when conducting certain tasks down to a single click of the mouse. So rather than manually keying client data, you can simply use the action instead. And depending on what other integrations you have set up or what web page you are working on, ZeroKey will present all available actions within this tab. Now, you may have noticed that for the purpose of this demonstration, an integration with Transact has also been installed, meaning the option to pre-populate an application within Transact is available. So as and when you wish to send a client from your Xplan account into Transact, rather than logging into Transact and manually keying client data, you can simply use the available action instead. You'll have the option to pre-populate an application either as a single client or as a joint client, and as soon as you do select the action, ZeroKey will immediately pull all of the necessary data from your Xplan account for your chosen client and push this data into Transact. This will save you between 2 to 3 minutes of time, but more importantly, because you've eliminated the need for manual data entry, you've helped retain the data's integrity. Transact will then automatically open in a new tab and take you straight to the application form with client data already pre-populated. And as you get deeper into the application form, you'll notice green ticks already exist. This is because the fields within these tabs have already been populated. Now, in the example we have just demonstrated, ZeroKey uses an integration with Transact to move client data. However, not all third-party technology can support an integration just yet. But in their absence, ZeroKey can still help. For example, when seeking to add a client into Quilter, you would typically be required to manually key client data into the Add Client form. However, using ZeroKey, you can now populate the form without any manual data entry. Notice within the Actions tab, the option to populate the Add Client form is available. Now, try to keep an eye on both sides of the screen if you can, because as soon as you do select this action, ZeroKey will immediately pull all of the necessary data from your Xplan account and push this into Quilter, populating the form in the process. This will only save you 20 seconds or so, but more importantly, because you've eliminated the need for manual data entry, you've helped retain the data's integrity. You can then proceed through the rest of the new business process, whereby another action is available for you to use. The form fill functionality we just demonstrated can also be applied to other third-party technology and not just investment platforms. For example, into Origo's Unipass Letter of Authority. Now, every time you wish to start the process within Origo's Unipass Letter of Authority, you would typically be required to manually key client data into Stage 1. However, using ZeroKey, you can populate the forms without any manual data entry. Notice within the Actions tab, the option to populate the client details form is now available. You'll have the option to populate the form either as a single client or as a joint client, and as soon as you do select the action, ZeroKey will immediately pull all of the necessary data from your Xplan account and push this into Origo's Unipass Letter of Authority, populating the forms in the process. This will save you between 1 to 2 minutes of time, but more importantly, because you've eliminated the need for manual data entry, you've helped retain the data's integrity. You can then proceed through the rest of the Letter of Authority process, knowing Stage 1 has been completed. The final example we wish to demonstrate shows how you can use your web extension in the absence of an action. So in its most basic form, your web extension provides you with super easy access to your client's data. It's right there at your fingertips, regardless of what web page you are working on. So if you find yourself needing to manually key client data into a particular piece of technology or to complete a particular form, you can instead simply click on the Data tab and find the data you need. Your web extension then enables you to copy this data. In this case, we're simply going to copy paste first name, copy paste middle name, copy paste surname, etc., etc. It's removing a little bit of friction from the process. Now, in total, this will only save you a little bit of time, but again, and more importantly, because you've eliminated the need for manual data entry, you've helped retain the data's integrity. And that there is the purpose of ZeroKey. We want to place client data at your fingertips and enable you to move it from A to B with ease and without any manual data entry.